Alfie sat on a park bench in Madison Square, a crisp New York wind teasing the collar of his worn coat. A single, brittle leaf spiraled down from a skeletal branch, landing softly on his arm. It was autumn's final, crisp farewell. Winter was no longer coming, it was at the door, and Alfie knew he had to make his annual arrangements. He shifted uncomfortably on the cold wood. His desire was simple, almost humble: 3 months in a warm, secure city prison. It meant guaranteed meals, a roof over his head, and the company of familiar faces. This had become his winter retreat, his sanctuary from the biting cold that 3 layers of yesterday's newspaper could never truly defeat. With a sigh, Alfie pushed himself up. It was time. He set off, his first plan already forming. The easiest way was the classic dine-and-dash at a high-end establishment. He walked from the park, his gait slow and deliberate, until the glittering lights of Broadway illuminated a lavish restaurant. This was the place. He only needed to secure a table. Once seated, his respectable, if slightly worn, coat and shirt would be all that was visible. His frayed trousers and broken shoes would be safely hidden beneath the white linen tablecloth. He dreamed of the meal, nothing extravagant, but hearty and warm. However, as Alfie stepped through the revolving doors, the maitre d's sharp eyes scanned him from head to toe. His gaze fell upon Alfie's battered shoes, a silent, damning verdict. Before Alfie could take another step, 2 strong, discreet hands were on his shoulders, turning him around and escorting him back onto the cold street. Plan 1 had failed. He needed a new approach. Alfie wandered over to 6th Avenue. A brightly lit shop window, displaying elegant watches, caught his eye. The street was busy. There would be witnesses. He calmly picked up a loose cobblestone from the street's edge. With careful aim, he hurled it through the plate glass. The sound shattered the evening calm. People stopped and stared. A police officer, not 20 feet away, turned at the sound. Alfie stood his ground, a picture of calm, his hands tucked in his pockets. A faint smile touched his lips. He was sure of it this time. "Who did that?" the officer demanded, striding towards him. "I have a suspicion it might have been me," Alfie replied calmly. But the officer was smarter than that. He knew vandals didn't linger to chat. They ran. Just then, his eyes caught a man sprinting down the block. Buscatcher, Alfie thought, but the officer saw a fleeing suspect. The cop took off in pursuit. Alfie watched, his hopes dashing with every stride the officer took. No luck again. Frustration began to brew. Across the street, a modest diner offered a new opportunity. He went in. This time, no one paid any mind to his shabby appearance. He ordered a steak, ate with genuine pleasure, and then leaned back, catching the waiter's eye. He smiled. "I'm afraid I'm a gentleman of leisure without the accompanying fortune. I have no money. Now, be a good chap and call the police, would you? I'm quite tired." The waiter simply chuckled. "No cops for you, pal. Hey, Sel." A massive cook emerged from the kitchen. Together, they grabbed Alfie and unceremoniously tossed him onto the sidewalk. He lay there, stunned and aching, the distant dream of his warm self fading further away. A nearby policeman simply laughed at the scene before strolling on. Alfie picked himself up and continued his quest. His next idea felt foolproof. A well-dressed young woman was admiring a display in a shop window. A policeman stood watchfully on the corner. Alfie sidled up to her. "My dear," he said, affecting a charming smile, "a beautiful evening like this shouldn't be wasted. How about you join me?" The woman edged away slightly, her interest still fixed on the window display. Alfie glanced at the cop. He was definitely watching. Alfie leaned in again, preparing for the inevitable scream and the call for help. The prison doors felt so close he could almost taste the stale air. Suddenly, the woman turned and looped her arm through his. "Sure, handsome," she chirped, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "But you're buying. Let's scram before that cop gets any bright ideas." Defeated, Alfie allowed himself to be led away. He was in shock. At the next corner, he broke free from her grasp and ran, a strange fear gripping him. "I'm never going to get arrested," he muttered in despair. He found himself in the theater district, surrounded by the wealthy in their fine furs and suits. He had to do something dramatic. Spotting another officer, Alfie began to sing at the top of his lungs, a terrible, off-key opera of his own invention, waving his arms like a mad conductor. The policeman turned, observed him for a moment, and then said to a bystander, "Just a college kid letting off some steam. He's harmless. We'll let him be." Was he invisible to the law? Dejected, he noticed a man in a doorway lighting a cigarette, his expensive silk umbrella resting against the wall. Alfie walked in, snatched the umbrella, and strolled away. "Hey, that's my umbrella," the man shouted, running after him. "Oh, is it?" Alfie challenged. "Well, why don't you call that officer on the corner? I stole it. It's theft." "Go on, call him." The man became flustered. "Well, you see, I myself might have acquired it from a restaurant this morning. If it's yours, I am dreadfully sorry." "Of course, it's mine," Alfie roared in frustration, shoving the umbrella back at the man. He threw his hands up in despair as the man scurried away and the policeman kindly helped a socialite cross the street. He had failed at everything. Alfie began the long, cold walk back to his bench in Madison Square. But as he passed a quiet corner, he stopped. A beautiful, old church stood there, a soft, warm light glowing from a stained glass window. Faint, sweet organ music drifted out into the night. It was peaceful. It reminded him of a different life, a life with purpose, of clean sheets and Sunday dinners, of a mother's smile and the easy laughter of friends. He looked at his dirty hands, at his tattered clothes, and thought of the empty days behind him and the empty days ahead. In that quiet moment, a profound change washed over him. A forgotten strength stirred within his soul. He would not surrender to another winter of scheming and misery. Tomorrow, he would go downtown. He would find a job. He would reclaim his life. He would be a man again. A sense of peace settled over him as he made his vow. Just then, he felt a firm hand on his arm. He spun around to see the impassive face of a police officer. "What are you doing here, loitering?" the officer asked. "Nothing," Alfie said, the hope of his new life still shining in his eyes. "Then you'll have to come with me," the policeman said. The next morning, the judge pronounced the sentence: 3 months in prison.